LockTech Kwikset Decoder GEN 5 accessory. It's going to come in this box. Part number is LTKSD. Alright, and this is going to be designed to use in conjunction with your Smartkey decoder, which of course is this. And you will use it to decode the 1s, the 2s, and the 3s that the scope cannot decode on the Gen 5 locks. Okay, this is what's in the box. You've got the tool itself in a protective case. It's going to be tied to your new chart, which has the part number on it, what it is, some brief directions on usage, and on the back side it's got your new depths for the Gen 5 locks. So as you can see, the 1s, the 2s, and the 3s are what's causing the issue with the Gen 5. They all look the same from using the scope, which is here. And that's where this tool comes into play, is it decodes the 1s, the 2s, and the 3s. Using the scope with the new card, you can still identify the 4s, the 5s, the 6s, and now even the 7s. So what you'll do is you'll use the scope to decode the lock as much as you can, and then you'll go back and decode the 1s, the 2s, and the 3s with this tool here. So inside the package you've got two components. This is what we call a finesse lever. It will allow you to more easily apply delicate tension. You've got a indicator dial, which has got your 1s, your 2s, and your 3 on it, and some instructions. And this is going to be referred to as your tension dial, which you'll use to put tension onto the lock cylinder to bind the wafer. So on the end of the tool itself, you've got a little tip, we call it a flag, and then you've got some spacing indicators. These will indicate how far you are into the lock to get to the appropriate space that you want to decode. Followed by that, you've got some support rods that will enter the lock to basically give support to the main decoding wire, and that's just to keep everything steady and give you good, clear results. Okay, so a quick description on what the tool does, how it works. So on your keyway, you've got a little rectangular square warding on the left hand side. The tool is going to enter just underneath that, as you can see here. Okay, and then it's going to fall, the little flag is going to drop into one of these 5 pockets for your 5 wafers. So I think you can see this in the lighting. We'll try. You're going to enter the keyway in such position, and your lines are going to line up at the front of the lock to get to the spacing that you want. So let's just, in this example, we're going to go all the way to the back. We've got one line just outside the lock. That's going to indicate that we're at the number 5 position. You're going to drop the tip down into that little chamber, and then these rods mounted to the tension dial will go in to where it's flush with the lock, and now that rod is nice and stable. When you use the indicator dial, you can see that little tip, it's going to go over and contact that wafer, and that's what's actually giving you the reading of what depth that wafer is. So we'll go ahead and use the tool in a situation. I'm going to start off with the scope because in most situations you don't know that it's going to be a Gen 5, so we'll just go through the whole process of decoding a Gen 5 lock. Alright, so we've got a lock here. It happens to be a Gen 5, but we do not know it's a Gen 5 yet. So we're going to start off acting like it's a regular Gen 1 through 4 Kwikset using our original chart and our Kwikset Smartkey decoder. So we'll go ahead and put it in the lock, just like we would read any other. Enter it all the way. Look at our chart, and the first thing you notice is it doesn't look like anything on the chart. That's going to be a clear indication that this is a Gen 5 lock. So from that point, we would go get our chart that comes with our Gen 5 tool, and then start using that to decode the block using the decoder, the scope. So as you can see, this position, which is in all the way, so it's number 5 position, looks like the 1, the 2, and the 3. Doesn't look like a 4. None of the other ones are even close. So what we would write down for position 1 through, or position 5 would be 1 through 3. So we know that that position is a 1 depth, a 2 depth, or a 3 depth. So I'm going to save some time and not use the spacers. You're welcome to use the spacers. So we're going to back out to the next position. Alright, there's our next position. That one, looking at the chart, would be a 6. So I'm going to write down a 6 for the number 4 position. Moving out to the next one. Alright, it looks like another 1 through 3. Moving out to the next one. Another 1 through 3. And then finally out to the last position, which looks like another 1 through 3. However, if you come back into these, you can see that there's a bigger gap down here at the bottom. So they are very close to what you would see on a 1 through 3. However, there's a few key indicators that will give it away that it's a number 4. And that is the spacing from this ridge here to this ridge here to this ridge here are different. These are closer together, these are farther apart. And you'll see that on the chart too. These are very close together, these are farther apart. So that's the one right before the big cavity. You'll also see typically a black, just a black area down underneath it like you do here on the 4. On a 1 through 3, you'll get some light reflection down here. So the biggest ways to tell the difference is this gap right here from this ridge to this ridge is shorter than what you see on the 1 through 3s. So that's going to be a 4. Go ahead and take it out. So we've decoded as much as we can using the scope. Turn it off. Now we'll use the accessory tool and decode positions 2, 3, and 5. Okay, we're here at our lock. We've got to decode positions 2, 3, and 5 after using our scope. We've got to determine whether those positions are a 1, a 2, or a 3. So right here from the beginning of the tool, you're going to see an arrow. That's going to be an indicator as the orientation of your flag tip. Apart from that, you see your depths 1, 2, and 3. That's the possible depths that you're going to be decoding. See an A, you see an arrow with a C, that's going to be clockwise rotation, and here you see a B with an arrow that's also clockwise rotation. This is going to be considered your tension dial. This is going to be your indicator dial. Over here you have your spacing indicators, which for what space that you're in, you're going to have, like if you're in all the way and you're in position 5, you'd have one of these little marks sticking just outside the lock. If you're in position 1, you'd have all 5 of the marks outside of the lock. So to insert the tool and move the tool around, you want to make sure that you're holding it perfectly straight. You don't want it to be side to side or up and down. You're going to insert it just underneath this little ledge right here. So we're going to put it underneath that tip and we're going to guide it in there. Another thing, when you're putting the tool in and out, you want these two dials to be together. Okay, so you're going to put the tool in there like so. Going to locate it all the way back to the back because that's the one we need to read, position 5. So that's going to be one little mark outside of the lock. Now I'm going to wiggle it around until it drops down into the chamber. And once it's dropped down into that chamber, I can pull out, I can push in, and it's not going to move because that little flag tip is in the pocket. So that's where I want it. Now I'm going to go ahead and slide the tension dial up to the face of the lock, and that's going to insert these support dials around it. So it's just going to go in, it'll go all the way up to the face of the lock, and now it's in position to read that space. So to read that space, you're going to start off with your A, which is going to be moving your finesse dial up to where your pointer is in the A position. You're going to put right hand tension, clockwise tension, on the tension dial, and then you're going to move your finesse dial lightly until it contacts a wafer. So that wafer right now is bound up against the wall to where this will turn and bump. You can feel it bump, come to a stop. Now if you push harder, you could of course lift that wafer and get a false reading. So you just want to gently go until it touches the wafer. So position 5 is going to be a 2. So I'll come over here and I'll write a 2 on position 5. Now you move this back to A. You're going to slide your support back. You're going to look to see what position you need to go to next. Ours is going to be 3. So we need to raise our tip up, and moving it clockwise, counterclockwise, wiggling it back and forth will help sometimes pop that little flag out of the chamber that it's in. And we're going to move out to where we have 3. Let's see, that's 1, 2, 1 more. Okay, so now we've got 3 of the little indicators outside of the lock. That should mean we're in position 3. We're not moving in or out, so we should be down in our pocket. I'm going to go ahead and slide the support rods in behind it again to where it's up against the face of the lock. Now we're ready to read again. We're going to start off with our A, go to B, and then again we're just going to rock this down until it comes to a stop. It's coming to a stop at 3. So for position 3, we would write down a number 3. Again, bring it back to A. That's going to orientate your flag tip to where it's straight up and down inside the lock. You're going to bring back the support rods, and we're going to lift the lifted flag tip out of that chamber so that we can slide it out. We're going to come out 1 position. So now that we've got 4 of those little indicators outside of the lock, I'm going to go ahead and slide our support rod back up against the lock. Go to A, right hand tension again for B, and then C. It's going to stop at the 1. So that's going to tell us that that position is a 1. So as you can see over here on our chart, our final key is going to be 41362. Alright, so I'll just take the tool out of the lock, same way, go back to A, bring the support rods out, lift the tip up by wiggling the lock back and forth, making sure we're still straight, and just slide the tool out. And we've already got a key cut to save some time for this, and just put it in the lock, and you can see it operates the lock just fine. Alright, so there's our demonstration of the new Kwikset Smartkey Decoder Gen 5 accessory tool. I hope this helps you all out in getting these new locks resolved for you. That's all we got. Thanks.